Welcome to the first episode of the G5 College Huddle. The College Huddle is the largest fan-led college sports podcast community on the internet. The College Huddle offers its members a network of other podcasts and content creators to work with, giving the audience more in-depth content. If you're interested in learning more about college football coverage, then I highly recommend you go and follow the College Huddle on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at College Huddle, our YouTube channel at the College Huddle Podcast, and visit the website at thecollegehuddle.com, where you can find articles and information from our 70-plus college athletic focus podcast. If you're watching live with us, please hit that like button, and if you're on YouTube, and then if you're on Twitter, retweet. Please and thank you. First of all, I'm Luke Probasco. I am joined by my co-host, Justice. Welcome, Justice.
Hi, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little bit different than our normal podcast on a Monday. It feels weird doing it on a Sunday. This is the first one. It's different mojo going here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about the opportunity, excited about the network of folks, 70 plus podcasts, whether they're Power 5, G5, and it's growing every day. So, great opportunity, a great network of folks to help learn and spread the word about college football.
Absolutely. And we're here and we are excited to bring you all the G5 college football content each and every week. We will be here every Sunday, right around 7 p.m. Eastern. Most of the time, we're going to have guests on, so it kind of depends on when they join the link, things like that. But right around 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, we will be here. A little background on us. We host another G5 college football podcast called the G5 Hive. We've been doing that since August of 2023. We're both avid college football fans and fans of the G5, and have noticed that over the years it's really, really hard to find good quality information on the G5 college football teams. So that's the void. We decided to help fill it, and we came up with the G5 Hive. And then this podcast should also supplement that and helping getting news out, to as many people as we can. So a little bit more about me. Again, Luke, and I love playing campus to Canton fantasy football leagues. Love them. If you're not sure what those are, it's pretty much a dynasty football league on the NFL side, and then college dynasty on the college side. And instead of having rookie drafts, you have supplemental freshman drafts, and you're bringing in like incoming freshmen and anybody who's been on your free agent wire, and you add them to your college team, and then anybody who goes to the NFL from your college team just goes right to your NFL roster. So it's a pretty fun format. Obviously a big college football fan too. I co-host another podcast for my home C2C league, just to talk trash to everybody else in the league, and it usually stirs up a lot of good conversation, so that's pretty fun. But it's just something, to keep the league engaged. That's the hard part year round, is keeping everybody engaged. I played D3 college baseball. I was a right-handed pitcher, and I did have a private workout for the Washington Nationals, but did not make the spring training roster. So here I am. Got the Beavers, BVU Beavers here. And I am in Iowa, in Muscatine, Iowa, right on the Mississippi River. So I am an Iowa Hawkeye fan. Not G5, but the Hawks are all we got. I mean, there's the Cyclones and other, but it's a Hawkeye state. Justice, tell us a little bit about you.
I just love college football in general. I enjoy playing college fantasy football, campus to Canton leagues, all those things. In addition to the G5 Hive podcast, I co-host another college podcast but it's dedicated to defensive players, the Devy IDP grind. And lastly, I am a fan of a G5 college football team. I'm an alumni and a fan of Old Dominion, so go Monarchs.
All right. Well, let's get into our news and notes. Justice, what do we got?
So just wanted to share some of the recent portal news of guys from the G5 entering the portal. Some of these are more recent than others. We have tight end and or quarterback turned tight end, Eli Stowers, who was at New Mexico State, entered the portal, I think, yesterday or maybe Friday. He started off quarterback at Texas A&M, went to New Mexico State. They tried to turn him into a tight end. Not sure what his goal is with entering the portal, whether he's trying to play quarterback or he wants to make a permanent switch to tight end, but he's definitely in the portal, so it'll be kind of interesting to see where he ends up and how he will be used at his new school. Also from New Mexico State, their star running back, Star Thomas, entered the portal recently. I guess we shouldn't be too surprised with these New Mexico State changes. They have a new coaching staff there, so it's a new regime, and maybe just things are just done differently. And these guys, who knows in this day and age, they could have some NIL offers. Maybe their playing time was not going to be what they thought it was going to be, etc. And they just decided to move on.
Well, not only about Star Thomas, but like even beat reporters are leaving New Mexico State. I mean, they've had like 2 beat reporters gone in the last like couple weeks.
Yeah, that New Mexico State UTEP coverage area seems to be very sparse. From a beat writer to the television sports reporter, kind of the folks that were associated with those 2 programs have kind of left recently, and kind of lack of coverage for both of them, New Mexico State and UTEP. Moving on to UMass, they lose their top 2 running backs. They lost Karan Lynch-Adams, which is a big loss for them. I'm sure, my guess is he's going to land somewhere in the P5. Lots of rumors Miami's looking for another running back there.
The state of Florida. I mean, Miami's like on everybody. There's a running back available. Miami's like just in there. And the interesting things about Lynch-Adams was, I think he said he was going to go pro.
Yeah.
Then he came back. And then maybe he said he was going to transfer and came back again, or maybe this was the only transfer. I just remember it's like this isn't the first time we didn't think he was going to be on UMass's team.
Yeah, I think you did. I think he thought he was going to declare for the NFL, and then he thought better of that, I guess, or maybe UMass came up with some NIL money. He returned to school, but yeah, he's back in the portal. There was some early on. There were some rumors that Ohio State was interested in him, which just, I don't know, it just seems really strange to me with Quinshawn Judkins and Trevion Henderson there. They did lose Dalton Hayden recently, but that just seems like a strange fit for Adams, and a strange fit for them to be spending more NIL money on a running back. But and then like you said, Miami's kind of every time a top-notch running back enters the portal, it seems Miami's always kind of thrown in the mix. Miami has lots of NIL money, and they need a running back for sure. So, and then kind of the strange thing to me was after Karan Lynch-Adams entered the portal, then the guy that you would think was the next man up, Greg DeRosiers Jr. enters the portal. So they lose their top 2 running backs in a matter of a couple of days. Just kind of, that one just doesn't make any sense to me, because you would think, hey, he'd be like, hey, awesome, I'm going to be the man now. But that's not necessarily the case. And he moves on. And maybe, for all we know, maybe he wasn't the man. Maybe he was further down that depth chart for the UMass Minutemen. Moving on to a team near and dear to my heart, running back Keyshawn Wicks entered the portal in Old Dominion from Old Dominion earlier this month. It was a bit of a shock and surprise to me as a fan. Seems like the coaching staff kind of had an idea that this was probably coming. Keyshawn Wicks was the leader of the committee last year with Kadarius Callaway, who left earlier in the earlier transfer portal period and went over to Cal. So I certainly would expect that Wicks would have been kind of the leader of that running back room, and for whatever reason, he's decided to move on from Old Dominion. Leaves the room is a little short, I guess, on experience, not necessarily depth per se. They did bring in Bryce Duke over from Virginia Tech, as well as Aaron Young coming over from Rutgers in the transfer portal during the first window. So they did definitely have some pieces to work with, but that was a little bit of a shock and a little bit of a blow, I think, there. And then the news that just came out, I think, within the last hour, they lose their backup quarterback and Jack Shields. He entered the portal. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining. Old Dominion did have their spring game this past Saturday, which I did attend. It's clear to me that Shields was the number 2, maybe he was number 3 quarterback. Grant Wilson was definitely looked the best on Saturday. He was the starter the majority of the year, and so I guess Shields wants to go somewhere where he has the opportunity to play, and you can't necessarily blame him for that. But it definitely does hurt the depth for Old Dominion at quarterback. The only other quarterback currently on the roster is a freshman Colton Joseph, who was there this past season. They do have some recruits that'll be coming in here over the summer, but got to wonder maybe if the staff will now go to the portal to try to find someone with a little more experience to kind of help in that backup role. So maybe it could be a blessing in disguise in that way. Maybe they're able to land someone that can push Grant Wilson more so and just kind of elevate that room. That would be awesome. No idea if that's what they're looking to do or not, but perhaps they will now with Shields in the portal. Couple spring game notes. Yesterday, Nevada had their spring game, and running back Sean Dollars got injured. It was a pretty bad injury. He was carted off the field. His upper body injury. He had to be carted off, taken to the local hospital. Haven't heard or seen too much in terms of like his outlook, but did see a tweet from his mother. And it says, "This is Sean Dollar's mom and dad. We'd like to thank the entire Wolfpack coaching staff for your prayers and concerns. Thank you to the players who displayed brotherhood, their families, and Wolfpack fans for all your support. God is great. Sean is doing well." So that's positive, positive news there. They did say he was able to, he did have feeling in his extremities when he was carted off the field. So, definitely our thoughts are with Sean Dollars and his family, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, and we'll see him on the football field for Nevada Wolfpack here in 2024.
Yeah. And then the other piece of spring game news, which came as a shock to many of those in the Colorado State media team, Justice Ross Simmons was dismissed from the team. I don't necessarily know the exact story, but Colorado State head coach Jay Norvell had this to say Saturday after the second Colorado State spring scrimmage. Justice Ross Simmons is not going to be a part of our team anymore. Our captains talked about it today. In this era of NIL, who knows what's behind all this stuff, but he will no longer be a part of our team moving forward. Ross Simmons has not been practicing this spring as he was recovering from an injury, but he was present at the scrimmage on Saturday. Later Saturday evening, he announced he was entering the transfer portal. I did talk to some beat reporters around Colorado State, and they said that it kind of came as a surprise to them, which says, you read a little bit between the lines. If he's not being a part of the spring practices and stuff, and they're shocked that he's gone, what exactly happened? And is it, more NIL related, or was there some sort of off the field thing that happened?
I mean, the impression I got was it was NIL related. I read the article from the beat reporter, and he kind of let off that, Justin Ross Simmons was one of those folks that,
And was this Kevin? Was this Kevin Lytle?
yeah, was that he was one of those folks that was being courted by NIL in the first transfer portal opportunity. And we heard Jay Norvell talk about people trying to convince the quarterback Braden Fowler Nicolosi to transfer, offering him a lot of money. And so it seems like maybe that same thing was happening with Justin Ross Simmons, and now he got he wasn't practicing, recovering while he recovered from his injury. It just I don't know, the sense that I got, and this is just totally my read between the lines and my own gut feel is maybe there was some waffling going on where he was like, hey, so and so's offering me this, and should I, and what can you do for me? Or I don't know that's what happened, but it just sounds like he was not 100% on board with being a Colorado State Ram, and maybe it was a distraction to the team, and the team said, hey, either you're in or you're out.
And then the other part on the opposite side, the other side is you got Torrey Horton, who kind of we thought was going to go pro. I mean, he kind of he had some down weeks here and there, but like
he was dealing with a lot of injuries last year too.
And he tore it up, and then he comes back, and that was kind of a shocking turn of events, I think, for me. So hopefully, we can glean a little bit more from that situation here in the coming weeks.
All right. So the main topic of discussion today, we were going to talk about the new AAC Commissioner, Tim Pernetti, who got announced. Was it yesterday or Friday? I don't remember. It was fairly recent.
It was like Thursday or so.
Thursday,
I think.
I feel like it's a great choice. In terms of what I feel like when we heard East Carolina Chancellor Philip Rogers, who's also the chairman of the AAC Board of Directors, when you kind of heard him talk first and what they were looking for in terms of, they wanted a leader, a competitor, someone that was fearless, entrepreneurial, versatile, someone who has experience with college athletics, media, all these sorts of things. Someone, like that Pernetti kind of fits that mold a little bit in terms of how he described what they were looking for.
Yeah, and if a little bit of background on him, he started at ABC Sports, and then he had leadership roles with Major Soccer League and sports media business, IMG Academy, and then being the president of that, that's kind of like this football
factory,
sports
factory, high school sports factory is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and then he was the athletic director at Rutgers before he helped start up CSTV, which is kind of just like you kind of think of how there's like the Big Ten Network and SEC Network and ACC Network, like they just covered sports, like that's it. And now he was kind of on the cutting edge of that, which is goes into what they were looking for of how do we make ourselves different,
because CSTV is now what we know as CBS Sports Network, and at the time it was the first network that was ever dedicated totally to college sports. So he definitely kind of shows that that vision that Chancellor Rogers talked about in the opening press conference.
And then I'll be right back. I got my daughter yelling for me, so I'll be right back.
The Chancellor Rogers said, they really appreciated his dynamic vision for an innovative conference and joining the AAC. And then, a couple of his ideas that were very interesting. He talked about getting having private equity, which just is we have not seen that yet in collegiate sports. There's been these rumblings. The rumblings I've heard previously related to Florida State and them getting some private equity from overseas involved to help with their NIL, but really haven't heard that talk on from a conference level. And so, but that's one of the things that he mentioned that I found super interesting In
And he like
terms,
embraced it. Like a
yeah.
lot of the other places are like they don't want to talk about it, or they don't know enough and they're not talking about it, and just bringing that to the forefront. And then he also just talked about the athletes themselves. Like, do the athletes want to be um employees? I don't know. Let's ask them. And he, just talked about asking a lot of questions and how it'll probably be annoying and doing a lot of research and stuff. So we've also, there's a ACC battle going on, with um, teams leaving, and it seems like the AAC wants to disrupt things and do whatever they can to be unique. And it seems like all the teams are backing that, I guess.
And that's kind of interesting because, like, I don't know, like for me as a G5 fan, I've always found like the ACC, the AAC, I felt like has never really been a cohesive unit. It almost seems like everyone in that conference has, that has aspirations to be in the Power Five, and it's kind of like every man for themselves. From an outsider's perspective, that's kind of the way I have viewed the AAC. Um, and maybe that's rightfully so. The AAC has most often been the conference when they're looking for teams to bring into the Power Five. The AAC has been the one that gets rated, and so that helps perpetuate, I guess, my own feelings about the AAC kind of being not very cohesive and being more for themselves and trying to promote their individual school brands to make it to the Power Five.
Well, and they
So
just had like what 6 teams enter in the conference last year.
yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like it's this evergreen conference that's always changing.
it has been, and for all intents and purposes, it's the American is really, I feel like, Conference USA 2.0. I feel like almost all the members were in Conference USA at one point or another. So hopefully Pernetti can kind of, I don't know, from my perspective, kind of help bring that cohesiveness together and maybe position them to continue to be the one of the top conferences in the G5. He talked about innovative naming rights. I don't think that's anything like earth shattering. I feel like every college football, you go to a college football game today and that's happening everywhere you go, right? The first downs have a sponsor, the sacks have a sponsor, everything, when the announcer, that it's saying everything that happens, like he's mentioned those sponsor names. And so that's, I feel like that's kind of, we're inundated with that as college athlete fan or college sports fans.
Yeah, I mean, what I would like to see more of would be like sideline interviews. Um, somebody makes a turnover. Let's go talk to let's go talk to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
player. Or
kind of like the spring
was it
league,
that?
the XFL kind of started it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's kind of cool. The I feel like the women's Final Four did it a little bit where they kind of talked with Caitlin and whatnot. Not necessarily like during TV timeouts, but like they do it around like basketball all the time where they're talking to the coaches and whatnot. So I don't think that would be awful, as long as you do it during when things are going well and you catch somebody in the moment. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun, or you go into the locker room and see what a locker room halftime speeches, or just do a little bit of behind the scenes type stuff, or you have a guy who's mic'd up for a game. I don't know, interesting
Yeah,
things. And I mean, no bad things, like they're all ideas.
yeah. One other thing that he talked about that really kind of caught my attention was the conference wide NIL resources. Like, um, and I didn't hear a lot of details, and I haven't read a whole lot of details, so I'm not sure if he's like meaning like setting up NILs, like basically supporting NIL kind of stuff, or if he's actually talking about like money. Um, and like how that, I guess, he talked about creative corporate partnerships, and maybe that's what he was meaning, right? He gets, I don't know, Gatorade to send $3 million to the AAC, and they divvy that up amongst their constituents. I don't know if that's kind of what they were talking about, or if he was talking about more about the support side of supporting NILs, how to effectively run them, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, if he's talking about sharing money, that's definitely a unique approach that I mean we haven't necessarily seen yet. But with like you mentioned, the current lawsuits going on with the NCAA, that's certainly something that could happen in the future, where the actual institutions are the one supplying this NIL money, and then that money is coming from TV money, a variety of sources. So maybe kudos to him to kind of maybe saying, hey, this is where the train's headed. How can we make this even bigger, right? So that was pretty cool. You know, he talked about turning the conference into a Shark Tank of fun, and taking big swings. And you certainly can't blame them for that, right? I mean, they are a G5 conference, and if they want to up their game, so to speak, they're going to have to take those big kind of swings. And as a fan, you just kind of hope that that they have more hits than they do misses with those swings, because you don't really want to see them drop to the bottom of the G5.
And you think about the first big swing. The first big swing is, the AAC's second commissioner. I mean, I've been trying to find it and I can't find it right now. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I just haven't been able to find it. But how much money did the conference spend to find or have this third party conference find, a commissioner? Like, how much money did you spend doing that? And they said, it took months and months. It's like, how much, again, just how much money did you have wrapped up in that? And that's your first big swing, honestly.
Well, and then something he's gonna have to deal with in the not too far future is their current TV deal, right? I mean, they have some time on that, but
Yeah,
I think
that ends in the academic season of 2031 and 2032, which also kind of times up right in between the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big Ten ends the year before, and the SEC ends the year after. So that'll be kind of interesting, and because their current deal is 12 years with ESPN for $1 billion. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there, because everybody seems to be lining up these TV deals and having that maybe that big super conference, or it's just the G5, or what did they talk about, that 70 team conference that I don't remember the group that put that together. That seemed like a bunch of hogwash, but
well, and that's kind of what he kind of alluded to I think alluded to that in one of his quotes, where he said, "You won't hear Power Five and Group of Five. You're not going to hear those words out of my mouth, because just in general, I think that where we're headed as an industry should refocus itself on what we're actually trying to do, rather than just the bottom line." So I think it's inevitable that what's going to happen is the two power conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, are going to break off from the group, kind of do their own thing, and everyone else is going to have to pick up the pieces and say, hey, what are we trying to accomplish here? What are we trying to do? Because they're just not going to be able to compete from a financial perspective with a lot of those with those two conferences. I mean, I don't I remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I want to say like the SEC currently almost doubles the Big Ten, and the Big Ten doubles the other P4, and then they all double the P4, the lowest P4, quadruples the G5. So you have this growing arms race, money race, and you're never going to catch up. So be interesting. I think they did get a good commissioner here, and hopefully he can position the AAC to kind of when all that shakes down to be in a good position.
And hopefully, we get a lot of these AAC teams making bowl games, because one of the things I think about uh, collecting money from donors, etc., is you go to these bowl games, they're up in these press boxes, and it's that one-stop shop where you can go from press box to press box and talk to all your donors and talk about the next year, and we could really use some support and whatnot. And if you don't have a conference that can get a lot of teams to the postseason, those conversations happen at a further distance, and it's not a one-stop shop, and you got to do all these extra things. So I think that'll be a real big key that he'll um, have to maneuver. Maybe that's off-season scheduling or whatnot. Make sure we get a couple wins here and there. We kind of joke about it on our G5 podcast, or the G5 Hive, when we're talking about the Sun Belt and Georgia Southern. Like, they got their 6 wins, and they're like, all right, how can we get everybody else into a bowl game? And they just went on this losing streak. But they really galaxy brained it. It's like, all right, this is what we're going to do to help the conference. But hey, we got like 90 people, viewing us. If you guys have any questions or thoughts, please drop them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you guys.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think the American got a good commissioner to kind of help them in this what's going on with this college football landscape today, between transfer portal, NIL, and the media, and all those sorts of things. I feel like they did a good job in terms of hiring someone to kind of help them tackle the things that they'll be facing in the not so distant future. All right, so that's going to wrap us up for this week. If you're looking for more G5 college football content, in addition to the G5 College Huddle, we also encourage you again to go over to the College Huddle, where we have Big Ten, ACC, SEC, a national show. We have something going on every night of the week, so we definitely encourage you guys to go over there, check those out at the College Huddle. Go to the website where you can learn more about the individual teams' podcasts, check out articles they've written, and find your favorite teams' podcast and tune in to them. If you're looking for more G5 college football content, we encourage you to check out our other podcast, the G5 Hive. It's a weekly podcast that typically airs Monday evenings around 10:15 Eastern, YouTube, and in podcast form. In season, the podcast is definitely geared more towards college fantasy football perspective. But this spring and summer, we're doing we have a really great series currently going on called the G5 Hive. The Worker Bee series, brought to you by the G5 Hive. And it's a great series for any college football fans. We're deep diving into the G5 college teams with beat reporters, student writers, super fans, school podcasts, basically the people that know these teams the best. The episodes, I would say, range from 30 to 45 minutes or so. But we talk about offense, defense, recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, all that sort of stuff. So and they're all done after spring camp to try to get that news, that spring camp news. So definitely, if you're looking for more G5 content, check that out. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the College Huddle. If you're listening to us on podcast form, please rate, review, and subscribe. And with that, we wish you all that your field goals will be right down the middle, and your favorite team will always get that W. Until the next time, we are the G5 College Huddle, and thank you for your support.